Europe has inspired some of the greatest stories ever written. Novels where the streets, the history, and the culture are as alive as the characters themselves. Let's journey through 20 unforgettable books set across the continent, exploring how each one captures the soul of its setting. Ernest Hemingway's A Movable Feast offers a vivid, first-hand portrait of 1920s Paris, where the city itself shapes the narrative as much as the characters. Instead of indulging in cliches about romantic Paris, Hemingway captures the gritty yet exhilarating life of a struggling young writer, immersing readers in cafe culture, cheap meals, and artistic debates among the expatriate community. While the focus rests more on fellow writers than on Parisians, the book reflects the restlessness of the post-World War I lost generation, with sparse, direct prose that mirrors its mood. What lingers most is the atmosphere. The cold hotel rooms, the light along the Seine, the blend of poverty and beauty, making Paris not just a backdrop, but an essential force in the story, rich with both historical context and universal themes of ambition, creativity, and belonging. Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame transforms medieval Paris into more than a stage for its tragic love story. The city itself becomes a character, alive with cathedrals, crowded squares, and the tension between nobility, clergy, and commoners. Hugo's obsessive detail, especially in his descriptions of Notre Dame, grounds the novel in authenticity, while his larger-than-life characters reflect the anxieties and superstitions of the 15th century. Though melodramatic at times, the book also speaks to Hugo's 19th century concerns, particularly the need to preserve Gothic architecture and cultural identity in the face of modernization. The atmosphere is both dark and luminous. The ringing of bells, the chaos of festivals, the shadows of narrow streets. In weaving architecture, history, and human passion together, Hugo ensures that Paris is not a backdrop, but the beating heart of his story, fusing setting and narrative into a single, unforgettable experience. Victor Hugo's Les Miserables expands beyond a single landmark to encompass the full breadth of 19th century France, with Paris at its core. The novel's setting feels deeply authentic, from the barricades of the 1832 uprising to the claustrophobic sewers beneath the city, each detail reinforcing Hugo's mission to document the realities of his time. His characters, thieves, priests, revolutionaries, prostitutes, students, rarely slip in a stereotype. Instead, they embody the struggles of a fractured society wrestling with poverty, injustice, and the hope for redemption. Through Jean Valjean's transformation and the student's doomed rebellion, Hugo ties intimate human stories to sweeping political and social upheavals, making history pulse with emotion. The atmosphere is immersive, whether in candlelit interiors or rain-soaked cobblestones, and Hugo's digressions into philosophy and history, though lengthy, deepen the reader's sense of France as both place and idea. Here, the setting is not just backdrop, but destiny, shaping lives and choices, ensuring that Les Miserables resonates as both a national epic and a timeless meditation on justice, mercy, and love. Dumas's The Count of Monte Cristo sweeps readers through France, Italy, and the Mediterranean, where settings are not just scenic backdrops, but stages for Edmond Dantes' long pursuit of justice and revenge. From the grim fortress of Château d'If to the glittering salons of Parisian high society, the geography mirrors Dantes' transformation from innocent sailor to calculating nobleman. Dumas anchors his tale in authentic locales and customs, while also exaggerating for dramatic effect, giving the novel both credibility and grandeur. The political backdrop of post-Napoleonic France underpins the plot, reminding readers that individual fates are entangled with shifting regimes. Its richness lies in how the settings enhance the themes of betrayal, ambition, and destiny, making Europe's landscapes essential to the novel's enduring power. Tolstoy's Anna Karenina brings Imperial Russia vividly to life, alternating between the glittering world of aristocratic St. Petersburg and Moscow and the vast, earthy rhythms of the countryside. The novel is steeped in authenticity. Social rituals, Orthodox faith, politics of marriage, and agricultural debates all ground the narrative in Russian culture. Characters feel unmistakably Russian in their emotional intensity, philosophical depth, and entanglement with societal norms. The political and social currents of the time, industrialization, reform, and shifting family values, flow naturally through the story. Tolstoy's mastery of atmosphere makes ballroom scenes shimmer with elegance while rural fields hum with moral and spiritual weight. Russia itself shapes the characters' fates, ensuring the setting is inseparable from the universal themes of love, fidelity, and the search for meaning. In War and Peace, Russia is both battlefield and hearth, capturing a nation's soul during the Napoleonic Wars. Tolstoy's commitment to accuracy is legendary. His depictions of campaigns and aristocratic life are drawn from rigorous research and personal knowledge. The novel's cultural representation is vast, showing Russian nobility caught between French influence and national identity, while peasants and soldiers embody the resilience of the land. Language plays a key role, with French dialogue underscoring class tensions. Atmosphere shifts seamlessly from lavish salons to snowy battlefields, enveloping readers in both intimacy and epic scale. The story could not exist outside Russia, for the land, history, and people are woven into every character's arc, making the novel as much a portrait of a nation as of individuals. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment is inseparable from St. Petersburg, a city of crowded tenements, oppressive heat, and moral suffocation. The setting's authenticity heightens the psychological depth of Raskolnikov's torment, reflecting a Russia in social and economic upheaval. Cultural details, poverty, orthodox morality, the struggles of students and workers anchor the story in lived reality. Characters are deeply Russian in their blend of spiritual yearning and philosophical debate, far from caricatures. The novel's atmosphere is claustrophobic, with feverish rooms and teeming streets pressing down on the protagonist. Dostoevsky integrates pressing issues of his time, poverty, crime, and moral law, making the setting crucial to the narrative. Without St. Petersburg, the psychological unraveling at the heart of the novel would lose much of its power. The Master and Margarita blend satire, fantasy, and political commentary to create a portrait of Soviet Moscow unlike any other. Bulgakov captures the paranoia and absurdities of Stalin-era life with biting accuracy, while weaving in supernatural elements that amplify the corruption and hypocrisy of the time. Moscow's cultural texture, literary circles, bureaucratic offices, crowded apartments, is vividly real, even as it collides with surreal visits from the devil himself. Language plays a key role, shifting between the colloquial and the mythical to heighten atmosphere. Historical and political realities are unmistakable. Censorship, fear, and state control shape every interaction. The setting is essential, for this tale of art, love, and truth could only emerge from Soviet Russia, where imagination became an act of rebellion. Joyce's Ulysses captures Dublin with unparalleled fidelity, compressing the entire city into a single day in June 1904. Every street, pub, and market is meticulously mapped, making the novel a literary cartography of Dublin life. Joyce uses authentic speech patterns and dialects, embedding the Irish voice into the very structure of the prose. The cultural representation is layered with Catholic ritual, colonial tension, and the ordinary rhythms of Irish urban life, all of which root the story in its context. Yet the themes, identity, desire, mortality, are universal, resonating far beyond Ireland. The atmosphere is dense, sometimes overwhelming, but immerses readers in a city so vividly alive that Dublin becomes both stage and protagonist. Without Ireland, Ulysses simply could not exist. In Dubliners, Joyce again turns to his city, this time through a series of short stories that capture everyday lives. The authenticity is striking. The voices of clerks, priests, housewives, and children speak in rhythms true to Dublin. Cultural details, Catholic rituals, social constraints, and subtle colonial undertones pervade each story, offering an unflinching look at paralysis and yearning in Irish society. Joyce avoids stereotypes, portraying characters with understated realism that honors their humanity. The atmosphere shifts from quiet domestic spaces to bustling pubs, giving readers a mosaic of Dublin as it was in the early 20th century. The city is not only a setting, but also the lens through which themes of stagnation, escape, and disillusionment are universally felt. Forster's A Room with a View contrasts the stifling conventions of Edwardian England with the liberating beauty of Florence, Italy. The novel portrays Florence authentically as a city of art, light, and passion, though seen through the eyes of visiting English travelers. The cultural clash is central. Italians are presented as freer and more spontaneous, while the English characters wrestle with repression and propriety. Forster uses language and atmosphere to heighten this tension, with the Italian landscape symbolizing emotional awakening. Historically, the novel reflects early 20th century anxieties about social class and gender roles, making its European setting essential to the story. Without Italy's transformative backdrop, Lucy's journey from conformity to self-discovery would lose its resonance. Forster's A Room with a View contrasts the stifling conventions of Edwardian England with the liberating beauty of Florence, Italy. The novel portrays Florence authentically as a city of art, light, and passion, though seen through the eyes of visiting English travelers. The cultural clash is central. Italians are presented as freer and more spontaneous, while the English characters wrestle with repression and propriety. Forster uses language and atmosphere to heighten this tension, with the Italian landscape symbolizing emotional awakening. Historically, the novel reflects early 20th century anxieties about social class and gender roles, making its European setting essential to the story. Without Italy's transformative backdrop, Lucy's journey from conformity to self-discovery would lose its resonance. The Leopard captures Sicily at a pivotal moment, the decline of the aristocracy during Italy's unification. Lampedusa writes with authenticity born of personal heritage, portraying palaces, dusty villages, and Mediterranean landscapes with evocative detail. The cultural representation is layered with Sicilian fatalism, Catholic ritual, and class divides, offering a nuanced look at a society in transition. The historical context is essential. The fading nobility's inability to adapt mirrors Italy's struggle to modernize. Characters are drawn with subtlety, especially the Prince of Salina, who embodies both grandeur and decay. Atmosphere is melancholic, imbued with a sense of endings, making Sicily itself central to the novel's meaning. Without its European setting, the book's meditation on change and mortality would lose its depth. Man's The Magic Mountain transforms a Swiss sanatorium into a microcosm of pre-World War I Europe. The authenticity of place is striking, with detailed depictions of alpine landscapes and the regimented life of the sanitarium. Culturally, the novel gathers an international cast whose debates reflect the intellectual ferment of Europe. Rationalism, humanism, nationalism, and faith all collide in the confined setting. Historical context is vital, as the looming war hangs over their discussions, giving urgency to their philosophical exchanges. Characters embody ideas as much as personalities, yet they remain rooted in European worldviews. The atmosphere of isolation, snowbound silence, and suspended time makes the mountain both real and symbolic. The setting shapes the novel's meditation on illness, death, and meaning, making Switzerland an essential stage for man's vision. Remarque's All Quiet on the Western Front is one of the most authentic portrayals of war ever written, rooted in his own experiences as a German soldier. The novel captures the mud, terror, and exhaustion of the Western Front with harrowing realism, stripping away romantic illusions of battle. Cultural representation comes through in the young soldiers' voices, reflecting German youth caught in the machinery of war. Historical and political context is inseparable. The novel is both document and protest, highlighting the futility of World War I. Characters are drawn with empathy, their camaraderie and despair transcending nationality, yet their German identity shapes their fate. The atmosphere is claustrophobic and brutal, where landscapes become wastelands and Europe's setting is crucial. It embodies the senseless destruction of a generation. Set in a small German town during World War II, the book Thief blends historical accuracy with lyrical storytelling. Zusak grounds the novel in authentic details of daily life under Nazi rule, air raids, rationing, fear of betrayal, while also weaving in the resilience of ordinary people. Cultural and historical representation is central, as the novel examines complicity, resistance, and the power of words in shaping both hope and destruction. Characters are deeply human, avoiding cliches, with Liesel's love of books offering a universal theme amid local horrors. The atmosphere is tense yet tender, shifting between dread and moments of beauty, such as stolen moments in a bomb shelter. The European setting is not incidental. It is the crucible that makes the story's universal themes resonate so powerfully. Zafon's The Shadow of the Wind paints Barcelona in the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War, capturing both its beauty and its scars. The city feels alive with winding streets, Gothic architecture, and an undercurrent of secrecy, rendered with both accuracy and Gothic flourish. Cultural representation is rich, from Catalan identity to Spanish literary traditions, rooting the story firmly in its place. The historical context of Francoist Spain is ever-present, with censorship and fear shaping the plot. Characters are deeply tied to their setting, reflecting the trauma and resilience of their society. The atmosphere is haunting and mysterious, where books themselves become gateways into hidden histories. Barcelona is not just backdrop, it is the story's soul. Often considered Europe's first modern novel, Don Quixote roams across Spain's villages and plains with humor and poignancy. Cervantes depicts rural Spain with authenticity, showing inns, roads, and peasant life as vividly as castles and noble estates. The cultural representation satirizes chivalric ideals while also honoring Spanish traditions of storytelling and honor. Though written in the early 17th century, the novel reflects the social and political tensions of its time, including the decline of feudalism. Characters, though exaggerated for comic effect, carry a universality that transcends stereotype. The atmosphere is playful yet tinged with melancholy, with Spain's landscapes mirroring the contradictions of Quixote's quest. The setting is inseparable from the novel's humor and tragedy. Without Spain, there could be no Quixote. Echoes the Name of the Rose immerses readers in a 14th century Italian monastery, where the authenticity of setting is matched by intellectual depth. The abbey is rendered in precise architectural and cultural detail, grounding the murder mystery in the daily rhythms of medieval monastic life. Cultural and historical context is central, with debates on heresy, knowledge, and the Church's power shaping the plot. Characters embody different theological and philosophical stances, yet feel rooted in the era's worldview. Eco's use of Latin and medieval scholarship adds richness to the language, deepening the sense of authenticity. The atmosphere is cloistered, mysterious, and foreboding, making the monastery both a real place and a metaphor for knowledge and secrecy. The European setting is indispensable. It is the very soil from which the story grows. Anne Frank's diary is one of the most intimate and authentic portrayals of wartime Europe, written not by a novelist, but by a young girl in hiding. The setting, a hidden annex in Nazi-occupied Amsterdam, is depicted with raw immediacy, where every creak of the floor or knock on the door carries dread. Cultural and historical representation is powerful, documenting not only Jewish persecution, but also the daily realities of life under occupation. Anne's voice feels real and unfiltered, her hopes and frustrations transcending age and time. The atmosphere is both claustrophobic and tender, filled with fear, yet also humor, dreams, and longing for freedom. The European setting, marked by Nazi oppression, is essential. It defines both the tragedy of Anne's fate and the universal resilience of her spirit. From the foggy streets of St. Petersburg to the sunlit hills of Tuscany, these novels don't just tell stories. They carry us across centuries of culture, struggle, and beauty that define Europe. Each book leaves a trace of its homeland: the food, the faith, the revolutions, the quiet moments of love and loss. Together, they remind us how place shapes people and how stories, rooted in their soil, can still speak to every corner of the world. Perhaps the greatest journey is not only across maps, but through the pages that keep Europe alive.